Hi everyone, can you believe it's November already? Crazy. Sure, we're near the end of the session, but it's never too late to stop and reflect on our teaching. If we think that back to the beginning of the session, we started off in September with the kickoff, where we reflected on our identities and what we believe and value as ELAA tutors. And for me, that was really rejuvenating, and it gave me a lot of energy because it felt like a fresh start. Well, we can do that every day. We can feel like that every day if we just take a little bit of time and think about what we've been doing. So in this video, we're going to talk about what is reflective teaching, why should we do it, and how to do it. So what is reflective teaching? Well, when I think about myself, back when I was teaching at the university, I would finish class and I would be tired but energized, and I would have all these ideas about how class went and how I could do it better. And then I would forget them all because I just wanted to go home and relax. Well, a couple years ago, I got this tiny notebook, and my goal was to just write a little bit every day after class. And I tell you, it revolutionized my teaching because all of those great ideas that I was having, I wrote them down. And that fed my teaching and helped me continue to grow and learn as a teacher. Let's take a second and look at this diagram about the reflection process. It starts right here with this focusing inquiry. It says, what is important and therefore worth spending time on given where my students are at? So this is asking basically, what do I want my students to be able to do at the end of the session? Next, we go up here to ask what strategies are most likely to help my students learn this? What activities, what structure, how do I help my students learn to be able to do what I want them to be able to do? So then we move into the actual teaching and the students' learning, which, often goes by like that. And then afterwards, we can take a breath and look at what happened as a result of the teaching and what are the implications for future teaching, meaning how able were my students to do the things I wanted them to be able to do, and what do I need to change in order to get them there? So if there's something that I need to change, then I can go back up here and think about, well, what strategies are going to help my students learn those things that they didn't get today? And if they got it, if we're good and we want to move on, then we think, well, what are the next steps for learning? Then I come back up here and I ask myself again, okay, what do I want my students to be able to do on Wednesday? So, and you can see there is no end point to this cycle. We're constantly moving through asking questions, teaching and learning, asking questions. So why bother to reflect? You finish class and you're tired and you just want to go home. Well, have you ever had the feeling that you are just spinning your wheels and you're not satisfied with how things are going in class, but you're not sure what to do? Well, my magic little notebook really helped me to get unstuck, because I could, as things I didn't like were happening, I could take notes, and then I could reflect on them later and think of ideas for how to go forward. It helps us gain insight into our teaching practices. So instead of just being a hamster on a wheel, we can take a step back and really think deeply about these things, and that helps us move forward as well. It helps us see our teaching differently, gives us a more objective eye on what's going on. And really, it helps us to create better and better and better learning opportunities for our students, which I know is at the heart of why we do what we do. Okay, so how can I go about reflecting on my teaching? Well, if I ask myself when I'm planning, what do I want my students to be able to do with English by the end of this lesson? Then at the end of the lesson, I can reflect on how able were my students to do what I wanted them to be able to do with English. And if the lesson went well, I can write or think about, why was it successful? What was so good about this? What do I want to keep doing? And if the students didn't yet understand, you can ask, well, what did I do? Why was it unclear? What can I do differently in the future? The tools for reflection are all very low tech and easy access. You can keep a little diary, like I did, or you can take notes on your lesson plan. That way you've got a physical, something to look back on. I like to write about 3 things that went well and 3 things that I'd like to do differently. You can use your colleagues, use your teaching team. Jennifer sent out an email at the end of October with some guiding questions that you can use for reflecting with your team about what's going well and what you would like to do differently in your classes. It's very, very helpful to have a colleague come observe. And then student feedback. You could consider using exit slips, which are just little pieces of paper. You can ask students a question, they write their answer, and they give it to you as they're leaving. You could use the celebration of learning, which is coming out to you very soon. And you can always ask the students, what's going well? What would you like me to include? What would you like me to do differently? And they can give you some very valuable feedback as well. This is such an easy, low-tech, accessible tool that can really, really impact your teaching. And it's so easy to do. You just need to commit. Maybe commit to trying it for the rest of the session, or commit to trying it for a month. Start small. Just start with writing down your ideas on your lesson plan or in a little notebook. Make a plan. For example, I'm going to write notes on my lesson plan after class. Whatever works for you. There's no wrong way to do this. And then collaborate. Ask your teaching team for help. Ask them to focus on something specific. So in conclusion, in the words of Tony Robbins, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And reflective teaching is an excellent tool for moving forward from where you are right now. I hope you have a great month, and as always, please don't hesitate to get in touch with questions or to ask for help or just to say hi.